Jason, I got it so early. We didn't get traffic.
There was traffic. I don't know. What time did you leave?
It's 8 after 5. So you got here at 5.
So I was literally pulled in basically right behind you.
Right.
And I had to go down Burn Meadow to Greenbrier and come up that way because Winding Way was backed up to our streets.
I just got on our street right here. 3 light changes there.
Oh, it wasn't the morning.
We were almost backed up. At
I dragged it off. Yeah.
By the so backed up.
No. I used to see.
They are.
I'm close with it. Boom.
That's it, you got it, Scott.
We can see somebody down this here today, or in the campus today.
I can give up my seat too, because I'm not sitting. Stand over here in the corner.
I'm not working.
I know, right? Alex is here. I mean, it's still not much here.
So you don't know? Oh, I took the outside, that's my meeting.
That's the thing. Oh, it's dark. That's why.
Yeah. The other day, I'm walking at 6. Tell the server to hurry up. Y'all lawyers.
I'll take this as a sign I need to order more chairs.
I told Randy, I'll try to get on the trip.
I think I'm blowing out the back wall. Plenty of crap.
I'm gonna speak in a moment. I'm being concerned, I know. Oh, get it right. Yes.
Well, we all already have. We have.
He's like you, he's right. I'm gonna start thinking.
I postponed my trip this morning, Tuesday morning, this morning, just so I could be at this meeting.
Look, you have your fishing trip.
He does. So I can
Going
be
just
here.
for you, Russ. He used to fishing your trip.
I know. I asked him if he was coming this time. He said he couldn't come, but he will be next year. My son took the trailer down this morning.
How many years now?
38.
I wish I was a fisherman. I go, I'm not. I'm no good at it. What, you should hunt trip like dove hunting. That's better.
We raffle that off. We auction
That's
that
what
off.
we got.
Yeah.
I'll come fishing. I'm no good at fishing trips. I'm no good.
Yeah.
I'm no good at that. I'm no good at that either. I'm no good at that either. Robert see me play. He walks in there and I'm like,
How's it going, Russ?
short snag. Get in and do the game.
Hey, what's that?
Let's go. Yeah, you won't be there.
Yeah.
Hey, Bill John.
They're real.
Go down.
You don't need to be in it.
Good, yeah.
It is fun.
Jason, how are you?
Hi, sir.
Tim, congratulations on the. Newest.
Got me ready?
Yes.
1 second.
Thank you.
How are y'all? Sue,
Happens to the best.
Yeah, the amount of times I've been served has increased 200% since I got on this board.
Notice is hereby given of the regular meeting of the Galveston County Consolidated Drainage District on May 13th, 2025 at 6 p.m. at the district's office located 1605 Whitaker Drive, Friendswood, Texas. I want to call the meeting to order. We have an invocation led by Amber Cole of 90.5 KGIC Community Radio Incorporated.
God, thank you so much for this beautiful weather that you've given us to enjoy. Thank you for the opportunity to come here, Lord, for each of these individuals, Lord, whether they're bringing information to be considered or God, tasked with the responsibility of making decisions for this drainage work. I just ask that you would give them wisdom and guidance and help them to make decisions for the city and the community that are the best. Thank you so much for the love you have for each one of us and God, for the unity that you bring into this room. It's in your name we pray. Amen. If you'll join me in saying the pledges.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the flag of the United States, one state under God, one indivisible.
Well, thank y'all for having me this evening. I am honored to get to come out and lead the invocation of the pledges and to share just a little bit with you about the radio station. So KJIC 90.5 is a Christian country radio station here in the area. And we broadcast to the greater Houston area. And then we also own a station in Sealy 90.7 and simulcast there as well. The station started in 1978. For much of the years, it was gospel until 2018, we transitioned into Christian country music. So we not only broadcast hope and encouragement and strength to our listeners, but we also hope to further the gospel of Jesus Christ. And then additionally, we participate in outreach opportunities by partnering with other nonprofit ministries within the community. So we have 6 community radio outreach partners that we are actively working to further their mission and vision as well through our on-air broadcasting and other media resources that we have there. So thank you for letting me be here today. And I brought you guys some listening cards on a little information about the station. So if you haven't tuned in, 90.5 FM, you can also listen on any streaming device and through iHeartRadio and on our website if you're at work, you can stream it on the side. So thank y'all very much. Rusty, thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, the board of directors report. Mr. Gibson.
I'd like to thank Paige for remodeling the building. Really upgraded their appearance. Thanks very much. So,
Jason.
I want to thank everyone for showing up. It's great to see a full house tonight. An active community means that we're all represented and we can get a lot more done when everyone's here ready to go. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Let's get going to me. Paige, this room looks great. Everything looks so good. It's amazing what 1 month can do. You can change it up and make it look so nice. Just want to congratulate all the graduates. We just got through graduation this weekend for the college graduates, and that was fun. We've got one in here right now that just graduated, Tori Perkins. Kendall was supposed to be here, but she was running my 14-year-old around. So congratulations to all the graduates. I know Michael's son was graduating, and yeah, awesome, lots of fun. And thank y'all all for being here. This is great to see a full room. Deborah, there's a seat right up here.
There is.
Yes, ma'am. Welcome.
Thank you, Kim.
do you have anything other than, thank the staff, Paige, she's taking the ball from over it. like to say a prayer, keep Samantha Haritos in our prayers. She's on medical leave. Congratulations to the two new former students. Just going to keep on keeping on. I'm coming into hurricane season. I'm a little worried about that because we're so far behind, but I think we're making progress. And sometimes you just got to have backbone, stand up and do the right thing. I tell people if they come to Friendswood, Texas, don't mention my name. But I believe we're doing the right thing, particularly standing up and making sure that people get a permit. Like I said, I used to be in the construction business. I understand there wasn't much you could get done with a case of whiskey or a case of beer, but those days are over. So anyway, I appreciate your support and the people that are affected like in Applewood. And I have no doubt that we will prevail. That's all I have.
Thank you. So I have a lot to say. This is because this is the first year anniversary of our first majority elected board in the history of the district, and I'm very proud to preside over the board and be here with y'all people. I just want to let y'all know that. I'm glad you are here to see that. I'm very proud of that. That's a big milestone. But first, the obstacles before I get to what I want to get to. So everybody pretty much knows that we have a legal action with the developer. And I will say one thing, that we will maintain the rules and regulations that's been in this criteria manual forever that I took over. We'll uphold our oath. We will look after the citizens. We are not as concerned about economic development. We're concerned about drainage and flooding and projects and funding that I'm going to go through to protect the people. And we're going to do our best to do so. It's only been a year, but we're off and running. So that action is being attended to, and I can't wait to get it over with. It'll get over with when it does. And I have great in-house counsel and great outside counsel, and we're on it. The banking stuff, another thing. I think I've told this story on camera, and I'll tell it again, but about the third day I took over this job, and I want everybody here to hear this. I walked into Kathy Grace's office. I wish she was here today. She just left for a cruise, but she's heard this before, sitting on the back row. Her and Joseph were in there, and I was standing right in front of me. I said, "Hey, Kathy, hey, Joseph, I want to change our banking." And it wasn't for anything. I know people in Hometown Bank. I like them, play golf with them, all great people. So I just want to change. I just feel like my business experience, my executive business experience, I just want to change what we're doing and where we're at. It just feels right. They really just beg me not to do that. They say, "Hey, Hometown makes us do everything in person. We have to walk signature cards over there, obtain new signature cards, walk them all over there. We have to change this, change that. Everything we have to do with them is in person. They've been great. Rusty, you got bigger fish to fry." I listened to their counsel. They've been there a lot longer than I have. I've been here 2 years at that time, and I said, okay. And I didn't do it. And I regret it. I do. I had a lot of expired medicine cabinet to deal with, a lot of protocols that were expired. And that was one thing they said it was working. I took them for their word, and it didn't work. We'll retrieve that money. The police is on it. The feds are on it. The attorneys are on it. If y'all can read a brief online, you can read exactly how it went down. Nothing went down like Kathy and Joseph said it would go down. Nothing was done like that. And I don't know what to say, but that's the truth of that. And the rest of it will be, dealt with in the courts. And I don't like that either, but it'll be done when it's done. Luckily, we're tied here, and that gets to the progress we made. First majority elected board in the history of the district, which is huge. That listens to the people. Our taxing, it has been low. I got on the board, there was a 27% increase. It went down to 8%, went down to 1, 0 last year. Going to be 0 again this year, people. So I'm going to hold it twice. And I think I've talked to you about that, Michael, when you went out about holding tight 2 years. And I'm going to tell you something. I've always said this. The people in the district can suffer and tighten their budgets and watch their groceries and their air conditioning, what their kids are going to school, worry about these stuff the school board's having to work with, educating their kids, all this stuff. So can we. And we are, and we will, and we'll keep doing it. Listening and then legislating on behalf of the people. I'm a big believer on that. I love seeing a full room. I love having other people in the city here. We have to work together. We have to listen to the people, then legislate and do our best job in the areas we represent. We happen to be under the water code, so that's where our allegiance lies, first and foremost, for the people. We have school district people, we have city people, and everybody has their cross to bear, and ours is under the water district, and we will do that. Professional people in the right seat. I think that's the thing I've learned the most in life, where I didn't learn and I have learned through pain and through failure, is having professional people in the right seat makes all the difference in the world. It uncovers things, it keeps you out of trouble. It allows the train to keep moving. I have a wonderful CEO and an in-house counsel in Paige Bailey. It's really been nice working with her. I really enjoyed it so much. We kept our district engineer, Scott Sheridan, who is super smart. I say he's the best civil engineer around here, knowing what's going on as far as dealing with our criteria manual. So we got a Clear Creek Girl report guy here. We have Randy Rowland, who's an Alvin Yellow Jacket, tons of experience in running mergers and acquisitions and managing people and making sure that projects get done to completion. Using Scott, who's the brain of the civil engineering and learning and taking projects on. And I couldn't be happier to have Randy. Samantha Eritos, which David mentioned, she's out on medical leave right now. We need to say a prayer for her. Smart girl, super smart, speaks the language of the Corps of all the grants that we need, the money we need to get. She is superb at her job. And we're praying that she comes back. If not, I want to tell them something else. We will be getting, Paige is very capable of doing it with Scott's help and Randy, but we will be getting and having a full-time grant writer and a procurement of finances for the district other than your tax money. It's never been done before, which I think is crazy in the history of the district. How did we figure that out? After Barrow, when I took over, we went for grant money and we figured out we couldn't get it. Our disaster mitigation plan had run out and expired in 2018. Benny Baker signed the last one that we did in 2013. It expired in 18. We couldn't receive any grant money. I remember when Samantha sat there and said, man, Rusty, I got some bad news for you. We can't get grant money until we get this taken care of, or we can show them we're in process of doing it. Then we found out some of our contracts, our biggest vendors, were not up to speed, which we had to fix. So the good thing about having people in the right seat on the bus when you're looking, and I found that in business, is they find these things and they nip it before you get too far down the line. But that money is money that the citizens, y'all deserve to have, and y'all deserve to augment what you're paying in taxes. Because other districts, I read this today, and I wouldn't trip at this much money. I've talked to Jeff Brennan about this. BDD4 is working with $70 million in FEMA money over the years and doing projects with it. Now, I didn't think it was that much money. I'm going to call him and ask him if this is a misprint or it's right. I know it's a lot, but that's money we aren't even eligible for because we didn't have our stuff up to speed for FEMA and our contract up to speed. This is part of the medicine cabinet when you got to go through it. You got to figure it out, and it takes time to figure it out. I'm moving fast. I'm working as hard as I can, full time with these guys, but eventually we're just the board. And the staff's going to take it, and I have a good staff to take it. But we're figuring stuff like that out, and we're off and running to make sure we get all of the money for the Friendswood and the League City citizens that we represent in this district, augmenting what y'all pay us in taxes. Because I'll say it again, your tax money will never fix this problem and prevent you from flooding. It might mitigate here, mitigate there. It will never fix the big problem. It's kind of like the state of the district. So anyway, the master drainage plan we're working on. So the city's working on a master drainage plan that y'all are off and running on. We're right behind them. Hill, the city engineer, and I have talked about this. We actually kicked to the side the part that we were going to do with the city because it was kind of, Hill said it was holding them up and making their job harder. And I agree. I said, let's don't make the city's job harder. Let them get down the road, get their funding and do it. He said it complicated the funding. So we're off on our own master drainage plan that we've already funded at a certain level. I believe it was the first $1 million of it. And y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. It was 3 or 4 meetings ago. Anyway, the thought process is this: with our master drainage plan, we will be able to dovetail. We're going to do it in the Dickinson side and focus on the Dixon watershed side. And I know that's not the side I'm really worried about. I'm worried about the Clear Creek side, but we can do that side and fund that and get down the road on that so we can identify projects, apply for more grants in that watershed. The city of Friendswood is going to nail down a lot of these things over here that we need. We're going to take that information. IDRT studies, which I'll talk about, will be coming to bear at that point. We're going to merge those two in place. Scott and I thought of this a long time ago, and use both that information to identify and to create a better master drainage plan that will identify better projects that actually will work and make a difference. If they don't work and don't make a difference, we're not doing them. We're not digging them. No more days of unstudied projects, non-engineered projects, getting dug and getting done without cost benefit analysis and proper engineering. That won't happen anymore. It can't happen anymore. We need to save our money for the big picture IDRT, which I want to talk about, in case we have to do some matching or pull our money in a regional level, us, Friendswood, League City, Missouri Drainage District 4, Pearland, Webb's, everybody down the line, Dickinson, pull our money to match those federal matching funds that might come up and might be the big picture solution. So along with that, I want to tell you all this. My main strategy is this: we will maintain the waterways, the ditches, the creeks, the tributaries at the highest level that you've ever seen. Our response time will be the fastest you've ever seen. We're going to be all over it. I'm talking all over it. Randy Rowland knows this. He knows the pressure's on. He doesn't care. He's not shying away from it. He's an old water dog. He can handle it. And we're going to take care of it, because that's what we need to do to make sure we have the proper volume, the proper mowing. So we have the proper volume and conveyance to get the water out of here. And that's what we're going to work on until we get projects that really make a difference that we study. So the IDRT studies, the last thing I'm going to say is about that is number one is the study that's going to do, for people you haven't known, y'all got a newsletter and you can look at them, and there's more information in the newsletter that you get in the mail. It's online also, but you can look at those studies and look at us five. I asked them to do a smaller slideshow that demonstrates what they're going after. So Nick Diaz did a small slideshow about study number one, IDRT, and that stands for the Institute of Disaster Resilient Texas. They're at Texas A&M. They've done some big picture mitigation projects. Sam Brody is the head of that department. Man, it's cutting edge. It's big time. And they do these studies that might cost us $1 million, $1.2 million. We're getting them done for probably, a third of the price, because they're an academic institution funded by my old school and funded by people, A&M, and the public fund that comes out of, also funds your school, Ross, out of Texas. So they have a little more firepower than most people. So anyway, IDRT 1 is going to study high definition drone work on the creek obstruction, silting, all the stuff that's impeding flow, that could help the creek be more effective, getting obstacles out, proving silting for the core that they asked us to do, so we can get down the road of maybe desilting the creek and making it more effective, where it'll hold more volume flow. IDRT 2 is moving some of the stuff in the Spinal Coastal Project forward, the gates and pumps at 146, looking at lowering and controlling the level of Clear Lake Bay and having that increased conveyance, increased volume in the creek, looking at multi-day storm events, whether it be Harvey with a surge, Harvey no surge, inland rain only, a barrel, an Allison type scenario, and then combinations of them. Andrew Juan is doing that study, a PhD on the other side. They got a whole team of PhDs behind them. Those guys are really excited, which kind of scared me the other day. I've never seen a PhD guy so excited. I told Dave, it kind of worried me a little bit. I've never seen him get that pumped up. I've seen it in NASCAR and like sporting events, but I've never seen it in like a hydrology study. So I'm glad to see it though. After that, the cat herding is going to start, and the funding and all the things I'm talking about us trying to get down the line and get the funding. I've talked to Michael about this a bunch. Of course, I warned Robert Allen to where he wouldn't take my calls anymore, because the herding the cats and the funding has always been the hardest thing for us in the last 40 or 50 years. So our choice is this, and I always say this: we can take this opportunity. We've missed this opportunity for 5 decades in my life, I believe, where we're doing mitigation. But the mitigation we're doing is Band-Aids. We're doing Band-Aids, and it's working. It doesn't look like it's working in live fire exercises. That's what I call them. When we have a live fire exercise, it's not working. And I'm scared as hell about a storm this summer. I am. I really am. I'm praying to God we don't have anything or some big 3-day event that's got us. But when we finally get this comprehensive study done, and I have some help back here about closing the gaps on it, we need to really close ranks, Robert, and everybody in here. I need to have the public involved, and I need y'all's support to really drive this forward. I'll burn up the halls in DC. I'll go back to the state capitol and burn up the halls, but I need some help, because if we don't get it done once and for all, these mitigation things we're doing is as well as their intention, they're not going to save us from these multi-day big storms. It's going to take a bigger solution. And I'm hopeful that the IDRT studies are the first step in that direction. Sorry for the long State of the Union, but we're moving forward here. We're off the launching pad. We're so far gone. We're not looking back. And I'm proud again of the board. I'm proud of the staff, and thank y'all for listening. Okay, citizen comments. Signups are in the back. In case you haven't signed up, there's stops in the back. I'd like to, Don, I'm gonna let you go at the end. No, at the end, Don. I have one in front of you, Scott Bowen.
I think I'd be below it, but yeah, thank you, Mr. President, for inviting me to come speak. My name is Scott Bowen. I announced yesterday that I'm running for the House of Representatives seat in Harris County, currently held by Dennis Hall, who's running for the state Senate. And I wanted to kind of introduce myself. I don't have an opponent yet. I hope it stays that way. Yeah. But this room and the consolidated district is outside District 129. But many people in the district are affected by it. You just look right across that red line, which is Clear Creek, and you look, and that's part of Friendswood. And those are people that I seek to represent. And I do represent right now, actually, on the Clear Creek IC School Board. And what it tells me is flooding is a regional problem. There are people in Harris County who are affected by it, Galveston County. And so what you guys are doing here is important. And I know it. I have friends in Harris County, that part of Harris County, who have flooded twice. And it's just tragic what can happen over there. It requires us all working together. And a lot of times fixing a problem upstream can change lives downstream. And so cities, counties, special purpose districts, the capital, all have to work together to solve this problem. And that's what I want to help do. If you don't build it, they won't come. Doesn't work. We know that in Harris County, whether it's roads, whether it's ditches, flooding mitigation, sewers, anything. I mean, this area is growing, the state is growing, and it's going to keep growing. And we have to do it responsibly in a way that keeps people safe. And so we need visionary local leaders like you guys to build the infrastructure that makes that possible. And for people in Austin and people in DC to give you guys what you need and to help make things happen so that it can get done. So thank you for your hard work. Congratulations on a year as board president and a year as an elected board. And there's a lot of work to do, and I want to be your partner in helping in getting it done. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Don? You're first.
Oh, that's easy. You're the one, that was last.
You're last. Last in citizen. That,
Well, thank you very much. I was in Austin Monday. I had to address some issues with Harris Galveston Subsidence District. We have a regulatory function that we have to do. And as you all probably know, with your regulatory functions, some people don't like to be regulated. So there have been some bills that have been introduced to essentially take a large part of North Harris County out of our district and let people in that area pump as much groundwater as they want. No matter how much subsidence that causes, they're not really in tune with trying to stop subsidence. they know it costs a lot of money to build surface water facilities, build a application plant, put the transmission lines in. It's costly and it drives water rates up. But our only choice is to either live with subsidence, watch the ground sinking, and in parts of Friendswood, if you go back far enough, there's been 4 feet of subsidence in Friendswood back when groundwater was popular. That's part of the reason that Friendswood has been so in tune to trying to keep up with using surface water as opposed to groundwater, because we don't want to promote it anymore. And I have to say that what I was doing in Austin was trying to stop 2 bills that have been introduced, which would basically gut the Harris Galveston Subsidence District up in North Harris County, and create problems for us. Just because somebody's up in North Harris County, if they do a lot of groundwater pumping, groundwater kind of is like a big lake. It kind of flows underneath the ground. It's all mixed in with the sand, but it can go a lot of different directions. You have to be, I'm one person that's on the board there that kind of watches Pearland because I'm concerned with the growth in Pearland. And I just thought they were going to be sinking 2 new groundwater wells over there. So we need to get our science and research committee working on, is that going to create a problem for us? Just because there's a boundary between Pearland and Friendswood, underneath the ground where your aquifer flows, it doesn't know that boundary. So they suck a lot of water out, and it could affect the groundwater here. So, and like I said, I forgot if I said that or not. I want to thank the city council and the mayor, and staff. They put together a great resolution at the last city council meeting supporting Harris Galveston Subsidence District and supposing any actions to just allow unrestricted groundwater. And that's a big deal with me, and that has to be a big deal with all of us. We have Imperial Estates. That's a good example of a subdivision that essentially is no longer there, partially because of subsidence. And if we don't keep subsidence under control, we will have more neighborhoods like that. Y'all are the other side of the coin working on surface flooding, and we're trying to keep the ground up so that it doesn't become a bowl, and just make your job impossible. So anyway, that's where I was Monday, and we seem to be, we're only 20 days away from the end of the session. So there's not too much time for, bills to pass. There's some bills that are necessary that should pass, but there's also bills that we don't want to pass. So if y'all ever have any questions about subsidence or any of the things that are going on, just feel free to give me a call.
I got a question right now. Can I ask it? Because I had a conversation last year sometime, thinking outside the box. I'm like, why can't we just take all this extra water we have and inject it right back into the ground? Remember I asked you that question? The problem is, and I know the plants have done it in some places on a limited basis, but you explained to me that you can't undo it. It's compacts.
Well, yeah, I mean, a whole bunch of issues about that. But number one, right off the bat, you'd have to clean that water up before you injected it back in the ground. And by the time you cleaned it up, the flooding threat would be over entirely.
How much have we slowed that down? I know y'all monitor groundwater pumping. Is it still subsiding?
A very slight amount. It's like just a fraction of an inch over a 5-10 year period. And there's some of that you just can't stop because we get a drought, we get a lot of hot weather, and there's surface elasticity. And I'm not a geologist, but that's what you really have to explain that to you, is that elasticity up there will cause the ground to shrink some. And what we were talking about was what happens at lower levels of the earth in the aquifer. And down in the lower levels, the granules of dirt and sand and everything that's all mixed up in the water are all kind of jumbled up together. Well, when you pump the water out and the aquifer level drops below what would be that surface level, those little granules all of a sudden compact and they get all lined up and they compress. Well and good. If you get water back into the aquifer, those little granules are not going to decompress. They're going to stay flat. So once you've got a subsidence caused by what's going on at the lower levels, it never comes back. You know, you're done. The only way you get anything back is to put more dirt on top of it. And anyway, if you have any more questions, I'll be glad to answer. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Al.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you, John.
Over to presentations. Presentation by Michael Ross. He's Friendswood City Councilman-elect, position number 6.
Great to see you all again. Appreciate you having me out today. Tomorrow I get sworn in. I can't wait to start serving the citizens of Friendswood. It's really an honor for me to be able to put my knowledge and background to use for the citizens of Friendswood instead of just doing it for, personal gain from a company standpoint. So I really appreciate the opportunity that the citizens have given me. Generally speaking, I do these things off the cuff, but I actually wrote quite a bit of this stuff down today. So I'm going to do some reading and some off the cuff. As I mentioned, my name is Michael Ross. It's an honor being elected to serve on the Friendswood City Council. I want to begin by expressing sincere appreciation for the work of this board and your team to continue to do so. The challenges of floodplain mitigation are complex and evolving. And just like Don said, there are so many things that actually affect flooding. And some of the modeling we do, even though it's very complicated based on the technology we have today, is very hard to take into account all of the things that go on. Subsidence, okay? Like Don was saying, most people don't understand. We do not sit on rock. You have to go all the way to Central Texas to hit rock. We sit on basically a sedimentary mass of silt, sand, clay. It's floating on the aquifers. So when we pump those out, it goes away and it subsides. Just like he said, you form this crystalline pattern where it all compresses and gets restructured, and then we've lost that forever. So that's a component that needs to be taken into account. And when we're sitting there looking at all this, it is very complex stuff. And so as an elected council member, I'm committed to data-driven decision-making, whether we're talking about drainage, roadway planning, or economic development. My goal is to use facts, not politics, to guide policy. So just like y'all are doing, is y'all are committing to these studies, just like the city of Friendswood's doing. We're committing to these studies to help drive decisions for the citizens. So we're making the best decisions with the best information possible. Thoughtful planning starts with accurate models, reliable forecasting, and willingness to let data drive our priorities. And so that's why I view flood mitigation not just as a technical issue, but as strategic imperative. So in a lot of ways, we have to be strategic how we do this, because I think the 1980s was the first version of detention. So at some point, the counties and cities realized that they had issues with flooding that was going on downstream with all the development. And mostly it was, kind of happening off to the northwest side of Houston. And everybody's like, man, we're flooding down here. We've never flooded down here this direction, down Buffalo Bayou. So they started developing systems, and they modified them, and they keep modifying. And, they're based on impervious cover ratios and all sorts of other criteria, how close you are to the coast versus how far upstream. These are all kind of fixed systems. They can't really work in conjunction with each other, and they're very static. We have an orifice at the end of our detention system, so we're going to let the water out at this flow rate. But if the water needs to get out faster, we have no way of fixing that. We try to do it on a big picture model of, again, Sheridan can talk to it more, but you try to get it out fast as you can on the coast so you can bring it down. Well, what's been happening over the decades is, these streams are kind of silting up. And I think you're going to prove that with your ERT study. You're going to get in there and start finding that the volume and capacity of the streams that you have changed over the years.
Whether that means they're just getting flatter and pushing the water, they're filling up with silt and they're kind of pushing the water more up. And simultaneously, you've got some subsidence. And to Mr. Johnson's point, you can absolutely pump water in Katy, Texas, and affect us down in Friendswood. And there was a lot of pumping in Bel Air that was done back in the 80s, and they saw absolute impact of that along the Gulf Coast in Baytown. Baytown sunk like 8-9 feet in some spots because of the pumping they were doing in Bel Air. So this is a very complex problem, and I think you guys are doing a really great job of realizing that and saying, okay, digging a hole here and digging a hole there to mitigate for small projects isn't the way it is. It's a regional based solution that's going to solve these problems. And I mean, big regions, not, just Galveston County, but we're talking Harris County all the way back up to Cypress Creek watershed and so on, as you work your way back down through to where we're at. They've done a lot of that at the Harris County Flood Control. They've done a lot of this regional basins, and we haven't done a lot of it down this way. So I'm really happy that y'all are starting to look at these. I would really be happy if, at some point, my thought process is if GCCDD and DD1 and DD2 all became kind of commingled and became one bigger drainage district. That's my thought process on it, because you could act more regionally, and because you have impacts downstream that y'all have to work with them separately instead of conjunction. Friendswood sits in a uniquely vulnerable position. We're landlocked downstream of development activity in Pearland that everybody sees, and then upstream, we got regulated flow limits that we can send downstream to League City through Clear Creek and or into Dickinson Bayou through part of your watershed. So flooding's not hypothetical. It is a recurring safety problem for us. And I think you pointed this out to me more so than I understood, Rusty, is really a safety issue more than it is an economic issue. There are lives that are lost every time these big floods happen because we don't have really good data to tell us what's going on as these streams are rising. So one of the things I talked to you about previously, Rusty, was I'd really like it if the city and the drainage district could work in conjunction to develop stream level monitoring like they do in Harris County Flood Control Office of Emergency Management. I would love to see that data available to our citizens and to our staff and our first responders to say, okay, Sugar Creek's coming up. It's coming up fast. It's going to get to the point where, this area of Friendswood is going to go under. We need to start moving those people out. I think that's a critical item that, can be addressed by both the city and the drainage district. While the city and the county detention requirements play an important role in mitigating increased runoff and development, we also recognize those models that I was talking about are imperfect. And I think that the more we can embrace today's technology and the ability to do more and more complex models, I think, with the Atlas 14 data, and I think they're going to continue to morph that as we go along and utilize these really long multi-day rain events as the catastrophe. It's not the very fast, hard-hitting rains here like it is in the hill country where they have that flash flooding. It's these multi-day events that just overwhelm the detention systems that become problems. So I think if you continue to work through current modeling efforts on a regional basis, you'll see bigger, better solutions. And I think y'all are doing a great job of that. I think as an organization, y'all have stepped up and changed your methodology over the last year. And I really appreciate that as a citizen, because I flooded too. So I'm not interested in having that happen again. To your point, here we go. Here comes hurricane season. It's been 8 years since we flooded from Harvey. It seems like yesterday because I felt like I just got done finishing rebuilding my house. But at the same time, it's really important we get that knocked out as soon as possible. See, I covered the stream levels. One of the things that, and you also hit on this, Rusty, is it's the execution and herding the cats. So I will tell you, I sat in a developer council meeting, which was a GHBA developer council meeting in 2001. I was sitting in this meeting when we had Army Corps of Engineer expert come and talk to us about the Addison Barker Reservoir. And the explanation was these reservoirs could possibly fail if we have a Harvey-esque event. And they knew that. And they knew it was going to cost $1 billion to fix it. That was their estimate in 2001. Nothing happened. They did not fix it. They knew that it was going to be a problem, but they didn't have the will or the ability to rally the troops, pull money together and spend $1 billion on that to save what eventually happened during Harvey. Because they knew they had to release the water downstream or have a breach of the dam, which would have been uber catastrophic, way worse than anything that happened during the hurricane in New Orleans. So we had many more hundreds of thousands of people downstream of that event. So it's imperative that when we see as a society or a group of communities that there is a problem that needs to be fixed, that we act together and not independently. I think we could have done that in 2001 and we just stared at the problem. As a city official in Friendswood, I must do my part. So I'll advocate for our city council to align as closely as possible with the drainage districts, both Harris County Flood Control and Galveston County Consolidated, to work to solve these problems, because everybody here knows Friendswood's got a reasonable sized portion of the population that is subject to flooding, no matter what we've done or how many of these buyouts we've done. There's still houses that are still impacted by flooding. I still live in a flood hazard area, even though I'm sitting at 21 feet, 6 inches. That's still a flood hazard area. Whether I believe it or not, FEMA map says it's 19 feet. I was at 26 and had an extra 6 inches. So we got 22 feet of water in my house, up to the house, excuse me. I think that leadership that you guys are, and your team, your entire team is presenting to the community is important. And I think it's very important that, as you said, there are rules to follow and that we continue to follow. I think for too long, and I've done this across the state, I've been in so many cities where they had just handshake deals to get stuff done. And unfortunately, it's very expedient. It's less costly to do it that way. But at the same time, it doesn't leave a trail of accountability. So when you come back in and you find that a water line's in the wrong place, like I did in Humboldt, Texas, and it was 20 feet away from where it should have been, and I had to move a water line that was supposed to be an easement, but at the time, it was just, again, a handshake deal. So there's that kind of stuff, like you said, emptying the medicine cabinet, figuring out what's expired and going through it. So as a community and as a city council member, I hope we can do the same. I've looked at some of our development agreements and some of them have effectively expired, and we need to kind of monitor them. We need to go through there and check them, just like you need to go through and check everything. So I think it's imperative that we all take this as a very serious burden on our shoulders to protect our citizens from these type of events, whether it's at the city level or at the county. I appreciate y'all's time very much. I appreciate everything you've done, all your service. Having run for election, I can really appreciate, what it takes to get yourself and put yourself out there. And I appreciate y'all doing that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael's a Texas grad. I'm just a dumb old Aggie. Michael's a smart guy, and he's been hanging around the drainage district all his time. We share a lot of the same sentiment, but Michael has spent a lot of time studying this stuff. He does in his personal life and his development, but I really appreciate how much you have delved in the flooding and drainage, what I believe is the biggest safety concern in Friendswood, Texas. It's not murderers. It's not rapists. And I'm glad it's flooding and drainage in Friendswood.
Yeah.
And the bond program should have reflected that in Galveston County. We were woefully underfunded in Galveston County, Texas, less funded than Missouri County drainage districts. Every drainage district in Galveston County gets less funding than Missouri County drainage districts do. Let that sink into y'all. We are flooding and mitigating flooding will prevent lives from being lost, people from being hurt, and financial devastation for families who cannot afford it. Those are the people that work in the plants, people that build the buildings, that make the sales tax, that pay the taxes to the county. Hard to tax people on their homes to keep rising them when they're diving because everybody's leaving, and you turn it into Chernobyl over here on Clear Creek because it floods so much. We're redefining the floodplain. So I appreciate it, Michael, you being, I know it's boring to y'all probably, but this stuff is not boring to me. Topography and weather to pilots is like catnip. I love it. And trying to mitigate flooding is a very, very complex and difficult problem. And there's a lot to it. And we have the experts looking at it. My house is at 27 feet 2 inches, if that tells y'all anything. So he says 21.2. Well, the drainage district president's house at 27.2. I built on, about in their Poly Ranch. So if that tells y'all what I think, could happen. Just put that in your little minds. So anyway, thank you, Michael, for being so engaged. I really look forward to having you as a partner over there. And I look forward to us really getting down the road on some big time issues and big studies and solving some of this stuff.
Good.
Thank y'all. Presentation by Whitley Penn for our financial report, for our auditing report. Yep.
President Burkett and members of the board, we're here to present the results of the 2024 audit for the Galveston County Consolidated Drainage District.
Would you rather have me?
Yes.
I shouldn't be else. but-
Yeah.
That'll work. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
The audit process began with our planning, looking at the risk assessment to see what had changed at the district. We gained an understanding of the internal controls, key controls, and where possible, and if there are controls, we test those controls. Being such a small entity, it's tough to have segregation of duties. So your involvement in reviewing financial reports is critical, along with Paige and her duties. So that's usually what's key and separates the smaller governments from the larger governments. If the board members really have to get involved in. And I would even say, looking at the audited financial statements going forward and the monthly statements that follow after that, always using that as a basis, because at that point we've confirmed and corroborated information that's on there. So it's inherent with a small entity, but that's what it is with segregation of duties. What we also do is our substantive testing, which includes, like I mentioned, confirming and corroborating and testing detailed transactions. So that'll be confirming with third parties, Hometown Bank, which was the depository at the 9/30/2024. And just remembering we're about 9 months away from, or 9 months after the 9/30/2024 year end. So a lot has changed since then. And all of this is necessary in order to issue our opinions that we're presenting here tonight. So there's 3 types of opinions that you can receive, and they worsen as you go from right to left, or they improve as you go from left to right. So every entity wants an unmodified opinion. And so what we're saying here is that the figures presented can be relied upon by those using the financial statements. Especially as you mentioned, Mr. Burkett, as maybe granting agencies are looking at your financial statements, they're going to want to see at the fund balance of the general fund to ensure that it's liquid in order to pay for the fund for reimbursement upfront, et cetera. So that's just one of the purposes of the financial statements, as well as obtaining debt if it's ever required. So I'm pleased to present that you are receiving an unmodified or clean opinion. We did have to make some adjustments that we presented to Ms. Kathy Grace, and they're also in the management representation letter that we presented to Paige as well for signature. And so with those comments, and we'll get to that here in a bit, all we're saying is that now with Paige on board, reviewing more of the work that goes on a daily basis, having that second set of eyes to look at everything that's going on, so that when we come in, it's less correcting entries that have to take place from our point, and we're truly just auditing. And it's always a learning process when we come in during the audit, and it also always helps you strengthen your internal controls when we come in. And so with that clean opinion or unmodified opinion, it's saying again that the numbers are presented clearly in all material respects for both the governmental activities and the general fund. The difference between the governmental activities and the general fund is that governmental activities will show all of your assets, whether short-term or long-term. So capital assets are presented in your governmental activities, and also some long-term liabilities like your net pension liability and perhaps your OPEB as well. But on the general fund, it's on a modified accrual basis, meaning current resources, using it for current purposes. So there isn't any long-term items or capital assets. You purchase capital outlay, but that's for the cash that you use. So that's the difference between the governmental activities, financial statements, and the general fund in the annual financial report. And there's some adjustments there that take you through that reconciliation to show you the differences. But what we're going to focus on here first is your governmental activities. At your balance sheet, so you're seeing $7.1 million in cash and investments, which increased from 8.5 in the prior year. And let's take a look at why that occurred. You have other assets as well that increased slightly. Your accounts payables decreased by about $500,000, which means you have less invoices to pay as of September 30th, 2024 compared to 2023. Your other liabilities and unavailable property taxes totaled $188,000. Of that, $108,000 is related to uncollected property taxes. So you have the receivable less the allowance. And because again, it's on modified accrual, if it's not collected within 60 days of September 30th, it goes into an unavailable property taxes. Even though it's been levied, it just hasn't been collected within the 60 days. So overall, your fund balance is $6.7 million. And I'll tell you what that means in comparison to your expenditures when we get to that portion of it. First, let's go over your revenues. Your revenues totaled $7.1 million compared to about the same. It was the same last year. You'll see that your property taxes are the largest portion of your revenue streams. That increased about $200,000 from last year, but you did have some decreases in charges for drainage. And as discussed with Ms. Page, that's not guaranteed every year. It's based on activity, on the number of permits that are taken. So that's not always guaranteed or cannot be predicted. For property taxes, based on the levy, the values and the tax rates that are passed and then assessed, affects your property taxes. Your investment earnings did decrease slightly, obviously because your investments did decrease, so it has a direct effect on the investment income that you earn. Looking at the expenditures, trying to make sure, okay. Looking at the expenditures, your expenditures did decrease by $1.1 million, but if you remember what we just saw on the previous slide, your revenues were $7.1 million, still less than your revenue. So that was a decrease to your fund balance in the general fund by about $900,000. You'll see that your repairs and maintenance makes up the bulk of your expenditures in both years, but the repairs and maintenance did decrease from the prior year. Your personnel costs in the green did decrease slightly, and then again your capital outlay increased for any of the purchases that you made this year. Now, with that said, I'd also like to point, when you look at your $8 million in expenditures compared to, go back to one. When we look at your fund balance, the $6.7 million, that fund balance equates to about 83% of your expenditures. If you were to continue to incur $8 million in expenditures, that means that 82% of that, or 305 days, would carry out the drainage district without any revenue. Let's say all property taxes were to cease. That is a healthy fund balance. We know also, as disclosed in the note disclosures, that you do have that cybersecurity attack as well as the funds missing. So that has been disclosed. So that having that fund balance helps you, but obviously it's not ideal, and it's quite tragic for that. But we do have 305 as of September 30th, 2024. The danger zone is when you hit less than 90 days. So right now you're at 305, so you're still in good shape, but that's what you want to be always comparing your expenditures to that fund balance and how it's trending every single year. The final few slides are required communications. There weren't any significant accounting policies that you had to implement in 2024. I will say in 2025, GASB 101, which is compensated absences, will need to be included in their financial statements. So in the past, historically, governments would only include compensated absences or leave that would be paid out when an employee leaves, vacation, sick leave, if that was in the local policy. Now governments have to estimate based
looking at the sick leave and vacation pools and any other type of leave, estimate how much of that leave will be used as time off. So that could be a significant liability. However, it will not be recorded in your general fund. It will only be in the government-wide financial statements. It is an estimate and it will be a long-term liability. But that again will come in fiscal year 2025 or September 30th, 2025. There aren't any estimates that are included in your financial statements, even though you do have an allowance for uncollectible property taxes. You have a collection rate of 99.1%. It's very low, the amount that you do not collect. So we didn't find it necessary to make that a significant estimate. We've concluded that any judgments or even the allowance are in line with industry standards and don't have a significant impact on your financial statements. There are two risks that occur in every financial statement audit. It is not, this doesn't pertain to the drainage district, but in every entity, there's always the risk of management override of internal controls as well as improper revenue recognition. So our job, our mitigating, especially mitigating procedures for the improper revenue recognition is confirming the majority of your revenue, which is property taxes. We send a confirmation to the tax assessor collector. We also confirm your appraisal values, and then we recalculate the levy, also look at the collections. And then as far as management override of internal controls, we look at any journal entries and we're looking at the reconciliation processes. That's one of our recommendations also for reconciling cash accounts, et cetera, investments. And so we're always looking at that to make sure that there are specific procedures that mitigate that, and then we'll look for anything that could compromise the integrity of the numbers within the financial statement. We didn't have any difficulties dealing with your management. Thank you to all of your team members that assisted us to get here tonight. And there were no material misstatements that weren't corrected. We did make some adjustments, and like I said, those were included in the management representation letter that Paige signed for us. And again, we didn't have any disagreements in regards to the application of accounting principles. We'd be required to disclose that. And then that last piece of audit evidence is that management rep letter that Paige signed. And then, of course, if you do have other auditor friends, it doesn't preclude you from speaking to them about anything. It's just if we were to get into an opinion war and you were opinion shopping, we'd be required to tell the board that you sought counsel elsewhere. And then finally, if we do offer any advice or you ask us any questions, our responses are not such to where we're hoping you retain us as your auditors. If the answer is no, the answer is no. We're required to be independent, and we will always make sure that you're following governmental GAAP as well as generally accepted auditing standards. Any questions?
Thank you. Very thorough.
Did it. I mean, great. Go ahead, Paige.
I just want to say thank you. So our previous auditor with Whitley Penn, he retired on very short notice with in the middle of the audit. And so you picked it up without any missteps and just hopped right on board. And thank you so much for your efforts. I know that we also were a sort of a difficult client with our former general manager retiring as well in the middle of the audit. And so it ran a little longer because of switching over some staff personnel on our end and on your end, but thank you so much for getting it done.
No, thank you, Paige. And like I said, I think with your reviewing prowess, I think you're going to be in good shape in getting involved in all the reconciliation process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
We have a presentation by Michael Baker International regarding the project prioritization capabilities. Yeah, we just state your name.
So my name is Mujahid Chandu. I work with Michael Baker, and I want to say thank you to the board of directors for this invitation. So thank you. And So wishing Samantha more than recovery. So I'm here to present a case study that Michael Baker has done for Harris County. Harris County Precinct 2, which is adjacent to Friendswood, a portion of Friendswood. So kind of relevant to some of the audience here. But it's also good to hear so much about flooding. Speaks the language that piques my interest. So thank you for that. Next slide. You can just go to the next slide too. So a little bit about Michael Baker. We are a national firm. We've been in the industry for over 85 years. We have 4,500 employees, but we've been in the Greater Houston area for over 30 years. We service all drainage, transportation, water, wastewater, all infrastructure. In terms of flooding, we have been a FEMA contractor for over 45 years. So most of the FEMA that you guys are reviewing or people are paying flood insurance on, Michael Baker has a role in that in the technical service area. So we are, pretty familiar with flooding and support FEMA on guidances, loans and loans for development as well. We go to the next slide. Again, Michael Baker, briefly, I want to just kind of touch on. We have footprint engineering, and we've been here and doing work for Harris County. Doing work, we're part of the MapNext models, we're part of tax dots, some of the highway improvements in the area as well. So we understand the issues, we understand inland flooding, we understand coastal flooding, and the combination of both, the compound flooding. Next one. So we all love numbers, right? So you guys have talked about flooding, hurricane season starting, but the cost of this chart is very powerful. From 2018 to 2024, we have been spending over an average of $100 billion a year flood issues, and the cost keep rising. As you can see from the graph, the green is where mostly storm counts, and you can see the spike from 2014. It just keeps rising and rising. And then the chart on the right, the 2024 $1 billion disasters that have happened in the United States. So this is not going away. The cost is rising. Unfortunately, our age infrastructure, our infrastructure are built for 50 years or 100 years, and those are crumbling. So I think you guys are on the right track. Funding is becoming a big issue to GCCDD, to every community. Everybody is competing on the same fund that you guys are seeking. Taxpayers are paying enough, and the cost is just keeping spiraling out of control. Go to the next slide. So this case study, we were hired by Harris County and Harris County Precinct 2 specifically. There's been a lot of studies. There's studies in Harris County, for those of you who are familiar. Harris County has done studies from the TSAR, from Tropical Storm Allison. Recently, they've done studies on MapNext, which the maps hopefully eventually will replace the outdated FEMA maps. So there's been a lot of studies. They have a lot of data. There's a lot of data that's been collected in Harris County, especially with the Harvey on flood claims data for those who have insurance, or just in general when disasters happen. There's data that's been collected. 311 City of Houston data. So there's a lot of data that was out there. So Harris County Precinct 2 came to us like, there's a ton of data. We have limited funding. How can you help us prioritize which areas that we can invest and rank and create a CIP without additional money? We've done the modeling. We have data. So use this data, use this information, and come up with a prioritized list of projects, low-hanging fruits that we can go and tell our community we picked this project or this subdivision is number one, and we have a reason behind it. We have a reason. We are making informed decisions on why this project is number one, why this project is number two, and that is important because most often, you guys probably are in the hot seat here is that you fund a project and you get questioned. Why did you fix that neighborhood and why not this road, right? So it's important that there's reasoning, there's data, there's numbers behind, this decision. So we work with Harris County Engineering Precinct 2 and developed a prioritized list of projects based on existing data, no new modeling that we did. Go to the next slide. So if you look at this data, this is again a very powerful data. The blues, basically what FEMA is showing as the 100-year floodplain, and the red are the areas that experienced claims since year 2000. You can see from this, just from precinct 2, you see friends with red. Most of the areas, I would say over 60% of the claims are outside what we're calling regulatory floodplain or regulatory floodplain. So those people probably would not be aware of the risks, but don't have flood insurance. So this is data that's not available to everybody. You have to go FEMA to get this data. So I was hoping to create something for you guys, but I couldn't download the claims data. I have the FEMA map, ELE map. So, so Harris County wanted to see why is this happening? Why can we find projects without doing additional work? Fund those projects. There's one money that's sitting out there that could be used to fund this project. Just a good, $2 billion, 1.2 billion just to recover. You guys experience quite a similar kind of small scale. So our approach, right? Approach was again reviewing existing MapNext studies. There was a ton of planning studies that were done for Harris County as well, feasibility studies and PR studies, and we also used the flood loss and structures data. But that was just review of existing data. And then how did we analyze? So we took the flood loss data, we took existing models, we took we took the subdivisions that are in Harris County Precinct 2, which are provided. And then come up with a prioritization criteria, and then data analysis. Again, I think President, you talked about benefit cost analysis. That was one of the criteria that we used here. I think Michael talked about making sure our projects are data driven. So those are all the things that we used to do the analysis, and then the results. Go to the next slide. So basically, in simple terms, we took the repetitive loss data, severe repetitive loss data, predicted structural flooding, basically the models that were out there, non-structural flooding, which is very, very important. We always talk about, oh, my house is flooding, but sometimes we forget the mobility. How do you, the evacuation routes? How do your house floods? Okay, so your house doesn't flood, but how do you get out of that? Because your roadways floods, your ingress, your egress are flooding. So those are also a big component of how we looked at the drainage. And then we came up with a weighted score and what we're calling a project on the area. We go to the next slide. So the data collection kind of that's a little bit deep here, and I'm going to move quicker. I think halfway through my time. So looked at the CDBG studies. We looked at MapNext models. We looked at ongoing drainage projects. We looked at ongoing civil projects because one of the things that we look at is are there partnership projects? Can we partner? I think we talked about DD1, DD4. How do we partner? How do we partner and get efforts, right? And then we look at other data that were out there. One of the criteria that Harris County was looking at low median income is the criteria, social vulnerability and the criteria out there. So those are some criteria that we can customize based on the community of client needs. We go to the next slide. Again, Harris County Precinct 2 had over 5,000 subdivisions, 450 square miles. And so those are some of the numbers that they had. They had 15,000 claims during Harvey, they had 5,000 claims due to FEMA repetitive losses. Keep in mind, these are claims that people submitted to FEMA who had flood insurance. Some don't have flood insurance, they have gone. So this maybe, let's say, maybe undercount. These numbers are undercounted because somebody doesn't flood insurance for this course of people. And then this is, if you go to the next slide. So we took the whole precinct, and then we tiered the project. So based on those 5,000 subdivisions, we tiered into tier one, tier two, tier three, based on some criteria that. But this is a map that's very powerful, kind of showing, okay, in tier one, tier two, tier three, tier one, just for the sake of discussion here, we focused on the newly added areas that precinct two when they did the redistricting. So Friendswood became part of the new precinct two. So, we wanted to focus on those new areas that were not looked at before. So kind of approach, I'm gonna again, we started with part subdivisions. We narrowed down to 200 subdivisions based on certain criteria, based on the number of parcels that were flooding, the depth of flooding. Again, we focus on newly focused areas. We look at the historical flooding areas. So from 500 subdivisions, we narrowed down to 200 subdivisions. From 200 subdivisions, we also overlaid it with, again, Harris County board projects, city projects, so that there's no duplication. So we were able to narrow those down again to 180 subdivision projects. We go to the next slide. Again, these are high level, but again, you don't, it allows you to prioritize. Like, I don't want to do a full study for the entire, it's the value of Clear Creek. I know my high vulnerability area. This area is high vulnerable. This area, because I have the modeling, I have the predictive planning, and I have lost data to prove that I can focus my energy, I can focus my money here. If you go to the next one, the other thing that was important is environmental constraint. Most of our projects these days are being delayed because of environmental, whether we want it or not. Environmental either delays the program because we need to go through permitting, or because we cannot do anything. The other one that Harris County is stuck is, having issues with, I think you guys are the streaming issue, is right away, right? So that could be another constraint that we put into the prioritization that can allow us to move a low hanging fruit. I cannot obtain this right away, but it's a big need. I can move to the second tier. I can move to the second problem. So those are things that help you, and I'll show you the next slide. That so we look at prioritization, kind of percentages in a pie chart, like social vulnerability, existing condition, project efficiency, multiple benefits. If a project can offer you multiple benefits, the detention basin can be turned into a recreational park of trails. Kind of have a scoring for that, minimizing environmental impact, but maintenance. I think, Randy would say, I want to minimize my maintenance costs, right? The mowing and, so those are things that, we can prioritize and put into this tool that will help you make decisions. We go to the next slide. Again, you saw the slide, how we, kind of breaking down the criteria. Next slide. Again, so we were able to, from 180 projects, we were able to break it down into tier one, tier two, tier three. And you can see in tier one, all the 24 projects were in the tier one. Again, it could mean different things. Tier one could be high economic areas, or, that your downtown could be your tier one, where it could be different things. The next slide. We were able to break down into drainage improvement side. Is it a local drainage improvement? Is it a channel improvement? Is it a station-based improvement? We broke it down in local jurisdiction. You can see that Friendswood had 7 projects. We're also breaking down into watersheds. Luckily, you guys only have 2 watersheds to deal with, Clear Creek. We also have some, tributaries, some watershed. You can break it down. Go to the next slide. So this is really powerful. So you can see this in an Excel spreadsheet. You can change your weighting. Say, what, I don't want my environmental impact should be 5% of the score. I want it to be 1%. Change your weighting, it will auto-populate it. You create a map in Excel, it will create a KMZ for you. For those of you who are technological savvy, they can use GIS. For some of you that may not have access to GIS, you can open it in Google. It will show you the map of all the projects. Depending on how you want to play with this spreadsheet, it will repopulate to you one through whatever your projects have. Next slide. This is another powerful. I think we talked, had a lot about funding. We want to go apply for funding and grant funding. this is a powerful CIP sheet. It has all the information, it has the project, it has a description of what this project is about. It has the benefits on the lower, it has the project cost, and it has also a flood score, a project score. So this one can be used, a part of your funding applications. In public outreach and engagement. Next. We can skip this one. And yeah, you guys have any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
So one thing I was talking about is, so have y'all ever, you hit on something that's the most important thing, I think, is the environmental aspect of it. Have y'all ever done any, for example, in our IDRT studies, I talk about, if you're familiar with those two studies, our blind spot, we're going to have them, believe me. We're not the smartest people around. There's going to be blind spots and gaps in those studies. You should get familiar. You want to work with the district. I suggest you get real familiar with the IDRT studies, where our philosophy, where we're trying to go with those, and looking at our blind spots and maybe fill in the gaps. And maybe you can say, here, we can curb fast tracking this so you can start banging the halls for funding, but kind of get out ahead of us and see where we're going as a district and be looking around the corners for us. And one of the big corners will be, let's say everything works out good and it makes, it's a great study and we got our blind spots mitigated. People like you, companies close the gaps. The environmental part. Have you ever done any structuring saying, okay, we've done a lot of modeling saying, hey, we're identifying the CIP projects or we're tiering the areas that need the most help. Have you ever tiered Clear Creek for environmental? What's going to have the most impact? They're going to complain and gripe about it. They have been since the 60s. So what part of the creek is going to have the most impact environmentally? Start tiering that. Start looking at what part of the creek, based on foliage, on flow, on mitigation, is going to have the biggest environmental impact, and start tailoring the processes to mitigate those environmental impacts so we're out ahead of them. Much like the pipeline companies are out ahead before they lay the pipeline. They're already thinking about environmental impacts way out in front so they can mitigate it in real time. So that I'm asking you and anybody else in this room, think about those things, because that's what we're going to face, Robert. I guarantee it. We come out with a silver bullet, and that's going to be, so if you're out in front on our blind spots and the environmental, which you said, that's going to be one of the main things. I'm not saying it's the only thing, but it stopped us before.
Environmental is critical and something we need to be doing.
So I'm serious, think about that and talk to Scott and y'all get out ahead of that. That would be my ask.
So I know the answer to this, and I thought that was really exciting. Could you share for Harris County how long this took you from start to finish?
Absolutely.
Quickly.
Yeah. So actually, I prepared a scope already but Samantha was out, and I didn't want to, raise an hand. So for Harris County, we did it in 6 months. We did it in 6 months to come up with that project, and it was around $250,000. And I'm being as transparent here. I know we have competitors in the room here, but this is public information. It's in commissioner's court. It's 450. The big thing is data. We can gather all, and you guys have the data. We might have done BLE modeling in this area. There's a ton of modeling that's been done on defensive value. There's a ton of modeling that's been done for the coastal Gulf stuff. Data is out there. There's no, from a personal point, if give me money, I'll go do H&H. I love doing H&H. I love playing with the models, right? But to do a level that can identify your CFP and areas of highest need, this is a low-hanging fruit that with limited funding, we can really come up with something.
And then there's one other question I think Samantha would kick me if I didn't ask. There's a grant matching component to this, correct? Something that this can do that others can't.
Yeah, so every project, every grant opportunity comes with limitations, right? Some grants like there's a 25% match. Some could qualify if it's a neighborhood that's it's in a low income neighborhood. So that there's grants have different requirements, and I'm not a grant expert for that, but there are things out there that can really, if you have something like that, helps you. One of the biggest things that we've come to realize in the past, and I know grants has changed over the past 6 months, is benefit cost, right? Your benefit cost and having your ducks in a row. People are, I want to apply for this grant, so they don't even know what project they want to apply for. So having this information, I think, is a step ahead to be successful in grant.
Just quick ones. The question on your tiering system. So on your prior prioritization slide, I know SVI is a component of that score. Precincts 3 and 4, Galveston County, which is Friendswood, don't typically fare well when SVI is calculated. But in your tier mapping, that does not include social components. That's all data-driven weather and flooding.
So in the, yes, in the tiering, no, but in this.
But in the prioritization.
One of the things is, and it may change. For example, SBI and multi-benefits are scoring in the grant, some of grant application, give you 5% of the score in multi-benefit. So it helps you to secure those things, but if.
It's not wholly requisite.
It's not exact.
And you touched on it briefly, but as far as data integration goes, I know that I've heard the Corps prefers data their way, the way they do it, the way they collect it. But we're hoping to get data from Friendswood. We're going to have our data. We're going to have IDRT. So from all different, your modeling allows for quick integration of data from any source.
Absolutely. So Friendswood is doing their modeling in a different software called ICM. We can take the data. Headcraft, we can take the data. Coastal modeling, we can take the data. And we can take all the data. Again, at the end of the day, this is very heavy GIS exercise. So we can take the data and data driven. We can create a tool for you. So Paige and Samantha and Scott can play with this. Like, let's change the scoring here instead of 30%. I keep it 25%. Let's see how the numbers are faring up. So it's a tool that you guys can play with. Change the prioritization. Happy to do a demonstration. What is the demonstration?
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right, discussion action items. A, approve or deny final drainage plans for development located at 61 Winsaw Lane. Development process, building one single family home, one site extension, areas to be developed is 6.36 acres. The plan meets the district requirements. The recommendation for approval by Warren Getz Associates is looked at due to the conflict recording Daniel Scott Engineering LLC being the engineer for this record for this project. Do I hear a motion?
Motion discuss.
Second. Scott, I know you have a conflict on this because you were doing the stuff. So is anybody from Warren Getz here? Or Paige, you want to speak to this?
I can. I also uploaded, Warden Getz sent me a letter that is uploaded to the files as well. Essentially that they reviewed it as our district engineer in this case, because our district engineer and his private firm is the engineer of record for that project. And so they reviewed it kind of in his shoes independently. And in their opinion, that the plan met all the district's requirements for approval of the final drainage plan.
I just wanted the public to hear that because when that takes place, that's exactly what we do. We have an independent engineer review our engineer's plans, which if he does something wrong, we'll kill him. Anyway, so I want y'all to hear that from Paige or from Warren Getz. So with this, so I have a motion to pass.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
B, approve or deny the final plat for League City Parkway. Development proposes 5.171 acres into 120-foot road right away for League City Parkway. There's a recommendation for approval by the district engineer. The plat meets this requirements and has received a loan note from the city of League City. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approve or deny Legacy Section 1 Final Plat, 230110. Proposed development of 10.792 acres and 25 lots, 3 reserves, 2 blocks. After review, the district engineer, that be Scott, finds it meets district requirements for final plat process. We have received a loan from the city of League City. Motion to approve.
Motion.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
The approve or deny Legacy Section 2 Final Plat 230111. This development process purposes platting a 12.931 acre of land into 55 lots, 3 reserves, and 3 blocks. After review, the district engineer finds this meets the district requirements for the final plat process, and we have received a loan from the city of League City. Motion to approve.
Motion.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any questions on these? If y'all want to discuss anything,
Might you
Let me know.
explain to some of our guests who aren't here normally how this process works real quick?
Yeah. So how this is working, so y'all know, is the district engineer, that'd be Scott, reviews these plans in advance to make sure they meet district requirements, the preliminary plans. Then we get the final plans, and the final plans, Scott, to make sure that they're all tidy and they come before the board in our computers, or if you've reviewed them previously, like I have, we look at them. And of course, if any member of the board has any discussions or has any questions about what they've seen, they can hold it up and ask our district engineer to explain it to the board and to the public. So, once again, if there's any questions from board members, or I'm moving too quickly on these things that have been looked at twice, stop me and let me know.
I just wanted them to, we're not skipping deliberation.
No. Believe me, I'm looking to. E, approve or deny Georgetown Lift Station Final Plan 230114. Development proposes to build a lift station to service the Georgetown Development, Friendswood, Texas. The district engineer has reviewed, concluded this plan meets the district's requirements. That'd be the Galveston County Consolidated Drainage District. And we have received a letter of no objection, a loan from the city of Friendswood. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. F, approve or deny Friendswood Trail Section 5 Box Culverts Final Plan 240065. This development proposes to build a bridge across Chigger Creek to service Friendswood Trails Section 5B development in Friendswood, Texas. The detention and the floodplain mitigation are provided in development's detention pond constructions and Chigger Creek improvements, and is consistent with the board's approved drainage impact study, or DIS. After review, the district engineer, that be Scott, finds the plans meets the district requirements for the drainage plan, and we have received a letter of no objection from the city of Friendswood. I hear a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. G, approve or deny the Bristol final plat. Drainage plan, the flat. 240098. This development proposes platting a 13.639 acre tract of land into 0 lots, 6 reserves, and 2 blocks, commercial development. After review, district engineer finds this plat meets the district, trying to get me there with the misspelled word. This plat meets the district requirements for the final plat process. We have received a letter of no objection from the city of Friendswood. I have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Let's follow up on this one. This is a H, approve or deny 3111 West Parkwood. It's a request to enclose the ditch and reduce the required right of way, G240124. It's a commercial development located at 3111 West Parkwood. They would like to enclose an existing ditch maintained by the district. It's out by PSC shooting range. They would also like the required drainage easement to be 50 feet in width. Their plan is to place a parking lot over the enclosed ditch as part of their development plan. The district engineer recommends, number 1, specific language regarding responsibility of maintenance or potential damages. Number 2, the applicant provide an analysis, a drainage analysis, showing no adverse impact to the 5, 25, and 100-year storm event water surface elevations for the area. Do I hear a motion to discuss?
Motion to discuss.
Second.
All right. Scott, well, I want to, for you and I to go over kind of what we discussed this with the district thinks about this, about, this is a tributary to Dixon Valley out by the Pearland Shooting Range, PSC, going into Dixon watershed out there. We talked about that ditch. That's a little tributary to
Correct.
Dixon Valley.
Come across, it crosses the water canal, right, and travels right there by the cell tower. And then eventually dumps into Dixon Bayou. Sorry, correct.
Pull up a Google map.
Yeah, you want to pull up a Google Earth image?
I would like that, thanks.
You got that up, Scott, where it runs perpendicular to the road right there?
This is the access road to PSC. PSC is gonna be back down here.
Yep.
I think the cell towers here, those are the guy wires. This is the tributary that they're wishing to enclose and provide parking over.
The road for y'all, it runs back, towards Alvin, and the tributary hits in perpendicular.
We'll pull it up on the aerial here, Rusty.
Yeah, that'd be easier.
Over here.
The other map.
I can move it over.
That's fine. No, that's fine. That's good.
Your hand. Yeah, it's better. I can see it better too. Jason. It's this Dixon Bayou that's mislabeled. FEMA map says that as well. This is obviously the main artery to Dixon Bayou. This is the tributary though that's coming down through here. Site that they're wishing to enclose here.
So here's what I think, Scott. We have some culverts that they want to put in, correct?
Correct.
There's going to be some service going forward. We talked to Randy about, there's going to be some responsibility for maintenance.
Yes.
Not to mention, we have the impact studies we want to see as the culvert's going to speed the water up, if we're going to see what's going to happen in these storm events. If the board has other questions, I think this needs to be looked at a lot closer. We need to get those analysis done before we make any decisions based on covering up a tributary to Dixon Bayou and seeing what the impacts are on culverts and speeding the water up and how they're going to mitigate this.
It doesn't allow for any natural swell. So, yeah.
What are they building there?
I believe it's
Commercial or?
commercial development, yes, sir. So, let's say here, proposed 2-story steel concrete office building.
They're gonna have a mother of all box culverts to put in there. I mean,
Yeah.
Essentially.
I think they spit out some pipes in their request letter, but that to me, we would have to see, like I said, if the board considered it. It's being in general, you could do it, but you gotta prove that there's no impact, right? And,
they have to post some kind of bond or something to.
I was actually
Something would go on, deal.
Yeah.
The reason for it is that debris will cover up those culverts. And we've had that issue in Eagle Lake several times. And we can keep open ditch if we can inspect it and maintain it.
Yes.
I certainly would have looked at the studies, and then I still don't know if I'd like it.
Yeah, so we can do two things. We can just flat deny it, and then they'll just come back to us, and that's probably the what to do. Just in its current form, we just deny it, and they can come back to us with a much better plan, and they'll still might deny it. All right, the motion,
We deny.
Second.
all those in favor? Deny it? Aye. Let's move. Approve or deny 205 East Edgewood Drive Regional Detention Request 250046. The existing commercial development at 205 East Edgewood Drive request to purchase 0.004752 acre feet of regional detention due to desire to install 4 additional parking space. The cost of the applicant is $209.09. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second, but I'll have some comments I'd like to make.
So motion to discuss?
Yeah, motion. I get it. Go for it. Go for it.
If you look at our design criteria, this will meet all the criteria except number 4, which I read is that I'll read it. The developer provides conveyance to the detention facility. To me, that says to the regional detention, which is not, none of the buy-ins that we've had to meet that criteria. I briefly talked with Scott about it, and our recommendation would be to completely eliminate number 4.
From our criteria manual.
Yeah,
Something we can talk about.
but notwithstanding that, I don't have an issue.
Yeah, I
Request.
don't have an issue with that request whatsoever. Personally, don't. We talked about this.
If we need to talk about the criteria manual, we can surely put that on the next agenda.
I have another point. That's fine. I have another point. We can't build detention for $44,000 an acre foot. I think it's time we looked at that fee and see if we need to increase it.
Yeah, I think that's a fair discussion too.
I mean, update, right?
You know, so those are my 2 comments.
Again, those are 2 things, Paige, if you would add to our discussions in the future.
Noted.
Okay. So back to I. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Sorry.
All those in favor? Aye. J, approve or deny accepting Whitley Penn's 2024 audit report. Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
K, approve or deny actions related to taxable accounts and authorization for execution of any necessary documents related to such updating authorized representatives, connecting Amity Bank accounts to transfer of the funds.
Oh,
We have a motion to discuss.
Motion.
Second, anybody? Second, all right. Any questions for Paige on that? This is our textbook accounts through the state that we invest in, and Paige is linking those up to the Amity. I'd like to know, just how's it going? Is it going smooth? Is the positive pay going to be set up? Are you encountering any issues? So if you would kind of give us an update for this.
Sure, Amity has been great. We are fully set up, trainings have been completed. We're good to go. The last thing we need to do is fill the bank account. And so we have been keeping approximately 30 days worth of funds in the previous institution, just while we've been setting things up, because there has been a lot of trainings that are required before you can start those processes. The last step is to move funds into the new account instead of using the old accounts if we close that one. So that's what this does. And then also removing and updating the authorized representatives for the tax school accounts, because we realized there was still one more step. They weren't able to do anything, obviously, but
Nothing was updated.
nothing was updated.
Another great use of taxpayer dollars. All right.
Questions?
motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Paige. Alrighty, moving on to the consent agenda. Approval of the April 8th, 2025 bills, approval of the March 11th, 2025 meeting minutes. Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
In favor? Aye. Resolutions, we have none. So that makes us go to 10, discussion reports from staff members. Ms. Bailey, go for it.
Sure. We have had our kickoff meeting for the IDRT studies. So those are set to be completed, and we'll have hopefully all the reports in hand by this time next year. So it'll take approximately 12 months with the sedimentation study, and with the others, the task 1 and 2. Both of the PowerPoints from the engineers are posted on our website, so you can kind of go through and look at the different phases if you would like. For the sedimentation study, they're going to start with the soil sampling, and so you might see people out on boats taking soil samples, and I'm going to go out and try to do some videos with them and see kind of a day in the life of someone who does that. And then they'll be flying drones around, and so they get all the FAA clearances, and we're really excited about that. And so less than a year from answers on that side. And then item B, monument signage installation. We want to be easy to find, and so we're putting up a sign out front that's not wiggling and wavy in the wind. Because we have been mistaken for the municipal court. We don't need that. The June presentation, there'll be two presentations next month. I wanted to give y'all an early sneak peek. One is a hazard mitigation plan update with the draft. And so that is been in works since Samantha got here regarding updating that as part of going after grants. So anything federal, you have to have that done, which, as y'all heard earlier, hadn't been done since 2013. And so I know exactly. And then also a presentation in June by Granicus. And as mentioned in a conversation I had earlier in the week with a citizen, one of my goals this year is to change how we interact with the public in meetings and elsewise. And so making sure that y'all have the agenda packets. And so the files, like the maps, are too big to host on our website. And so I have been getting quotes and bids for different software to allow us to host the agenda packets, the maps, everything we're doing for the agenda and otherwise on a site just for us. And so that is coming soon. And June we'll have a presentation about that sort of software and the capabilities. And so I'm really excited about how things are going. And then now we have our field superintendent report.
I prefer show and tell. Yes, sir.
I love it.
Get it working. This is obviously our workers and contractors. Just want to kind of show you an idea of, what we're doing as far as the mowing. Rusty said a lot of times, we want to keep everything like a golf course, and that's what we're doing. And thanks to ProScape for doing such a wonderful job with their mowing process. This is Friends with Trails. This is kind of a before. I got there a little late to take a picture, so this is where they started mowing. And this is what it looks like after the mow. This was actually a week after that mowing. But we're keeping everything down through all of the waterways, creeks as much as we can. This is just a picture of Cowards Creek after it was mowed. You can see on Cowards Creek, obviously, the sediment that is built up over time. That's obviously cement paved over on the side here. Quite a bit of sediment has come up on that, but it's obviously been mowed next one. This is another picture of Cowards Creek and keeping it mowed like a golf course. You can see in the foreground, we don't have easement up there. We can't get to any of that there. So you can see the trees down. We're going to try to grab that and pull it across. But it's, obviously having as much easements as we can have is better to clear and get everything out of there.
Is that somebody's property?
Yes. And actually that easement it's someone's property, and that easement is basically a wall. It's a drop off there that you can't see, and we can't get where we stop mowing is as far as we can get on that piece right there.
Because of the lack of right of way, or because of the terrain?
Because of the terrain, lack of the right of way, we could get a little bit further, but in this instance, it's the terrain. And next, this is further up Cowards Creek. This is Cowards Creek Drive is the neighborhood that we're behind here. This is a slope that was just done a couple of months before I got here. So this is the mowing on that slope. And it's a pretty steep one, and ProScape does a wonderful job getting all the way down to the creek. And obviously the other side, we don't have access. That's good, Scott. Next one. This is also Cowards Creek. This is little further up or downstream from where we were on Cowards Creek. That obviously is something that was done.
The Gulf Road bulkhead.
Yes, that bulkhead was done years and years ago. And it's still holding. It's getting beat up.
It's like so railroad ties.
Next. This spot, I said we like to keep everything like a golf course. These two next shots we're going to be. This is the old Girl Scout camp that's off of 517, almost at the end of Dickinson. And there's going to be probably 5 people that can see this. So, next picture. This is what we're mowing it to. So we're doing our best to keep it, keep it open so everything can flow as fast as it can flow. And this is what it looked like after. This is Mary's Creek. Obviously mowed after I did get a before shot. All right. And you can see the sediment on the cement on the other side. Yes. It's just a little further down on Mary's Creek. Low and keeping everything low. Next one. Same thing, I wanted you to see the sediment on the.
Hey, man, I got a question. Hey, Ryan, on this sediment on this wall, we obviously don't want to get the sediment just kicking down the creek. That's not the idea. How are we gonna grab that and get that, scrape that back and get that out of there?
Long reach with the clean out bucket.
'Cause that's what I think we need to do there. If we can do that.
Wheel loader.
Okay, because let's don't put that sediment in the creek and kick it down. We want it out of there to increase volume and prevent that friction. Let conveyance get down the creek. So can we start doing that?
You know how deep that concrete goes, so we kind of benchmark it. Yeah, we do. We do. You can see the outflow pipe. It's right above that outflow pipe down there. Yeah.
Okay, so that's all sediment over there.
For the most part, yes.
Depending on when that was done, Ryan, Joseph was real adamant about putting a 4 or 5 foot deep toe wall at the end to keep it from sliding. You locate it.
Yeah.
And
They definitely have toe walls on them. Not all of that is sediment, but a good portion of it is.
Obviously talk about, let's budget, get with Dave, talk
Sure.
about the cost of that, but that's something that's not looking too good to me. And I've seen it there before, but the fact that you're mowing so much right now, it's really showing up. And I'd like to shimmy down there. I'm curious how thick it is.
I wondered how much of that.
How much I'd like to kind of see, Scott, what,
That's pretty steep.
well, I know, but they
Well, just how much of it's being
put
covered.
Randy down there with put him down with a rope.
I can walk down that. That's not that bad. Next one. This is Quakers. This is the detention pond is there on the right. This is just kind of showing how this ditch is overgrown. Next picture. This is obviously a week after, and this is ProScape doing this, clearing this out. Next picture. This is just another shot of it from a little further away.
That's the area.
Out there it is. Yeah, that area. I really would like to get back in these trees and kind of clear it out. I think it looks like a jungle in there. I think it would be a nice little park, a little walking park to go through.
Right across there, around where you're mowed, there's a little like an island where the creek kind of loops around and it comes back. But those culverts that you're showing, when we first walked out, they were completely covered up.
Correct.
That stuff was completely covered up, and as it went back to that wall of that's in Quaker's Landing, where that.
Next one, this is where I stood and took that picture. I just turned sideways. This is turned the other way to look down. This is the old creek here. It's been bypassed out. Further Clear Creek is out there where you can see the trees way at the end. This is the out creek, but this is a before picture. This obviously is after it was mowed.
Big difference.
It's a huge difference. And now you can see the trees on the other side. That's the Clear Creek out there.
Clear Creek's way back.
Yeah. That Clear Creek back there. Next one. This is, I wanted to show this. One of our employees, Shannon Harris, has brought it upon himself to make a map. And this is blown out. You can actually get really close to it, see. But you can see over here on the left, we have 13 places that we go and mow. These highlighted yellow places are all the places that we mow. And he goes in, and as we go through and mow these things, he changes the color. He makes notes. You can actually make notes in there that, last time that he was in there and mowed it. So we're keeping a record of where we've been, so we don't have to just remember. You have to keep it in your head where you've been. The folks that were here that were talking about all the studies that they do, they have some GIS software that I would love to have that they could do something like this for us where we could go, when a guy goes into mow, he can just put on his phone that he's in this section and automatically change color. And we'll know how long it's been since we've been in that last one. But Shannon is keeping up with this manually going in and changing it each time and writing himself notes. So he knows where the guys have been, where we need to go so we can keep up. We're getting through all 113 locations monthly for the past 3 months now. So we're keeping up with it, and that's with Proscape, our contractors and our folks taking care of the mowing process. So we're staying on it. You know, obviously now that we're getting more into the summer with the rain slowing us down and grass growing a lot faster, it may not keep up at 4 weeks, but right now we're at 4 weeks. We're getting the turnaround in the 4th week back to where we started basically. So this is something that Shannon's using. He's actually our crew leader, so he's making sure that those folks are getting out at 7 o'clock in the morning and getting things done. Next one.
I like that.
That's great.
That's awesome.
This is a bank repair. You've seen this picture. I talked about this bank repair earlier, but we're finished with it now. So I have shots of the finished product of what that was. These are just different shots, and this is one that I took actually from the water going through. You can see actually how big it was. It was very big. The bottom obviously has all that riffraff. It goes down 5 feet.
Randy, where is that? Mary's Creek, where?
No, this is on Clear Creek.
Oh,
This is on Clear Creek. It's called Marie's just because of the person's name. We named it a name.
They named it.
The landowner.
Where is that?
It's right where Fridgewood Link Road, right where the bridge is. It's just on the, I guess, the north side of the bridge, right
Okay,
there.
yeah, you can see it. You can.
Yeah, so, and speaking of that boat ride, me and Shannon took a boat ride. We went all the way over to Highway 3 in Canyon Monroe. So we drove through League City in the boat, and it's a jungle through League City on the creek. It's mowed where there's a few homes and park, but once you get into our area that we start growing, it's a huge difference. We've mowed and taken care of the creek as far as, getting our space clean. This is another project that we're doing right now. This is Lundy Ditch. This is not far from the PSC gun range. We're laying the back. That was the first piece of it. This is the second piece we're doing. We've already laid back one side, so obviously we make it bigger, hold more water. We're working on this side. The next one is just further down from that where we finish this side. We're going to be doing that side also and taking it all the way down almost. We're actually in League City right here, but we're going to continue that down quite a ways further.
On that one, just so you know, you are getting big kudos on Monday of early voting at the end of April.
Oh.
The families that you had met with were so happy with your response and so happy with you being out there. So thank you. Yes.
Yes, that actually is a project that we're doing on Lundy Lane,
Okay.
Colorado.
Okay.
We started that project yesterday.
Okay, good.
So, and we've had a whole bunch of looky-loos coming down and checking.
They are so happy.
They are, we are clearing out a space that hadn't been cleared out in probably 30 years.
They're so
So
happy.
it's grown up. There's a landowner there that's letting us get in there. So hopefully we're going to be able to help those folks get out. And we're partnering with the city. The city's going to be coming out and grading all the city ditches once we have this piece, because everything goes to the piece that we're cleaning out now.
Good.
So the city's helping. Haley's been a lot of help with that and getting that done.
We actually had a meeting here with Lundy Lane, Hill, Haley, Brian was here. We had a big meeting here with a bunch of city staff and us with
Good.
and it's progressed from there. So there's a good joint project of city and us working together to make some citizens real happy. We have something coming up with the Forest of Friendswood. That's going to be probably a big deal. We're going to tier year after year, but going back and looking at, we are all about, and we have something with Alex's neighborhood we can look at over there at Eagle Lakes, but there's always neighborhoods that have problems that are, I wouldn't say, Robert, I mean, they're not, I mean, Are they the city's responsibility? Sometimes. Are they ours? Sometimes. Or sometimes they neither of ours? Yeah, a lot of times. But I know that in the spirit of cooperation, helping our residents out, we can work together like we have behind your house, Don, to do things to further, the benefit the citizens and show that we are out to solve problems, even though we realize that sometimes they just happen to be, because these HOAs don't have any money. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that. That was a good partnership there to do that.
That expansion of the Forest Friendswood detention basin. Is that what you're talking
Yeah,
about?
well, we have that. We have something else coming up that we'll be talking about that in future meetings. That's a big deal. But those are all good in spirit of helping the neighborhoods out and beautify this place and make it hopefully hold more volume and get out of here. But that's been a big deal, Randy.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a note though, that on these neighborhood projects where we are taking over responsibility for things that have never been taken responsibility for, we are also requesting rights and ownership to certain properties that are being transferred to us. And so it's not that we're doing work on HOA property and then handing it back over, but it's more of an in perpetuity responsibility for areas that we think are a good fit for our mission as a drainage district.
And that way we can
Fit-
keep them up to speed
Yes.
and they'll never get back like that again.
Yes.
That's the key. Good point. And that's what we're doing to clarify. We'll keep them like this, Robert. So we won't have these problems again.
Very nice.
Are y'all working with the family on steel?
Yes, yes. Well, we're working with the family. We're getting some trees out of the old creek to help the drainage on there. I mean, I have them queued in my list to get done, but yes, I do know them. I have talked to them several times. So they're on my list.
Just taking a few trees out, they're gonna take care of the problem back here?
It's not gonna fix the problem. No, it's gonna help, but is it gonna fix the problem? No. There's more problem further down, with where we have no access and can't get through, to be able to clean out. It's until you clean everything all the way to the creek, it's gonna be a problem.
Randy, do you have more? Or are you done?
I think that's it. Yeah, no, I'm done.
Okay, I appreciate it. That's a good comprehensive report. And like I said, do you have any questions for Randy?
I think it's great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Randy.
Think you're moving ahead. He's a water dog, people. Telling you, this is easy for him.
Before you go on, I'd like to do FM 1959, show and tell.
Sure. Scott, walk us through that.
Okay, Jim, let me pull it.
Yeah, I wanted Jim to do that so I didn't step on his report.
Go to another.
Okay.
Go the one with the trucks.
Okay.
This, between this ditch and the fork ground and where the excavator is all they lack doing the rough grading
So
project.
that strip right there.
Yes. And I call that phase one rough grading. You
Yeah.
have to go to the next one that you showed first.
Okay.
Yeah, that one, that is land they've cleared. That would be the second phase of the rough grading.
And they added that, right?
And then go to the last picture. That is the detention that's totally functional right now. And so if we have a hurricane, that'll be a big help to us.
That's what Galveston County paid for.
Right.
That's the 6 million that Galveston County paid.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's all I had. They're supposed to be completely finished with it. We're still trying to focus in on the final design. We're reviewing. It's really wet bottom, no wet bottom, no wet bottom. And does antiquities really mean antiquities?
You're in it. You're in the thick of it.
So we're in the thick of it, so we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
All right, city district engineers report.
Hard to follow Randy's report, We've got a whole PowerPoint, but just quick report. The AAA trailer for the barge, they
completed the gooseneck portion of the trailer. They got it back from galvanized and they received the axles. They've got the framework in. So they're thinking they're going to be completed within 2 weeks. They're contacting Barge Works today to get the last details on the dimensions of the barge so they could lay out the frame properly and the bunks and everything like that. So that'll get delivered to Barge Works hopefully within 2 to 3 weeks. Barge Works ordered the grapple crane and they're in the process of ordering the material for the barge as we speak. They're tentatively thinking sometime in August. Maybe have the thing complete. So that's what we're looking at. So,
So when you and Randy grab the truck and go get it, right?
it sounds like it's a road trip. Rusty would fly us over there. We'd pick up the truck there and just drop back.
That's a good deal. I hope we don't need it this year for anything major. I hope it's just for maintenance.
Yes, sir.
I got a quick question, if you don't mind, Mr. President. Friend of mine is big time in the heavy equipment business, does demolition. He says he runs vegetable oil in lieu of hydraulic fluid in his. Have you ever heard of that?
In lieu of what is? In lieu of in his excavators and stuff. And what is he running with that?
That's what he's telling me. That's a pretty big equipment. Anyway, I've never heard of that, but he says, you're working on a creek, right? That hydraulic oil is corrosive. It's pretty bad stuff. So then you break a line, you got yourself an environmental issue to deal with.
Do you run budget Jet A in your jet?
I just
I don't know about that budget.
to get outside the
Yeah.
box.
Yeah, I might
I
not.
don't know if vegetable oil will be any cheaper.
I don't know.
Everything that's impact the environment. But I think we got to contain. We have walls that are built up around that barge that we can take on and off. So it'll be out there. So if we have a leak, I think it'll be somewhat contained. And Randy will just be out there with the big mopping it up.
What's the delivery on this thing?
He's thinking that it's going to be completed in August. So they're actually going to deliver it to the site so we don't get to take the road trip or anything. So, that was included. We had that included that they get the joy of bringing it to us.
So we need to get on one of the trucks and we need to get on the shed, the extension. Okay, all right, very good. Anything else? I appreciate it. That's big. That's big time. That'll be nice. I really hope we don't need it for anything other than just normal maintenance. City of Friends reports, Mr. Fun.
All right. You want to pull that up, Scott? Thank you. I appreciate you.
Didn't even have to ask him to go up there. He knew.
He knows. He told that guy twice.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished board, staff, citizens all. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Robert Griffon, and it's good to be here. Thank you for having me. Randy, that was a great presentation. The most cost-effective thing that we can do upstream is desnag, mow, and convey water, and it's the most cost-effective thing that we can do. So what Randy's doing there is awesome.
We got to talk to Pearland and Harris County about that. 'Cause
Well,
they're
they learned it first, and we're just picking up on it. But
Clear Creek at Dixie Farm looks terrible.
at our last city council meeting, Amara Blackburn, our graduate engineer, did present an update to the city of Friendswood on our drainage update. So I brought it for presentation. And I made sure that Jim got to go first with 1959. This is the Clear Creek utility rack relocation. And I know how David Johnson can get frustrated sometimes, but this probably should have been completed a year ago. But we ran into environmental concerns. We ran into all kinds of red tape, all where you want to just sit there, let's go get it done. Well, this is one of those things that we just couldn't just go get it done. But this is that Poly Ranch subdivision, the Dave Brown Memorial Park, Terabell subdivision, across Clear Creek south of Black Hawk wastewater treatment plant. The bid has been awarded. Its pre-construction meeting is complete. Notice to proceed was issued in April. Submittal for materials is ongoing. Contract will mobilize soon. And this was all funded. $1,693,000 was community development block grant, disaster recovery from Hurricane Harvey. And we can go on, that's Clear Creek Utility, right? This is Deepwood Flood Control. This is, separate and apart from Galveston County Consolidated Drainage work that they're doing over there. This is located at the Deepwood Drive along Clear Creek. This project has been awarded to the contractor and we're in pre-construction meetings now. The contractor will be clearing lots shown in green, in that light green area. And y'all have some adjacent lots over there that y'all will be working on too. This is funded by CDBG grant funds to about $474,000.
Before we move on, if we go back one slide, I did speak to staff about this, and I know that y'all have a question about this as well. If we wait approximately 3-ish months, there may be an amended contract in front of both boards
Great.
to add this to our interlocal agreement about the adjacent lots.
Okay.
And so there might be an expanded project involving this property as well,
Okay.
which I think is great.
That would be good. This is a very large area that we both own properties in. I know that y'all will be looking at cost benefit analysis and if it really makes sense. But I'm thrilled to hear that y'all are working with us and we're going to be working with them. That's fine with me. I appreciate that. This is the Springewood Regional Stormwater Detention Basin that Jim brought up. And the only thing that I would add is he had mentioned the final grade rough. He actually showed me pictures of what was almost finished with the final grading. And the final design anticipated late 2025, early 2026. So that's really just what Jim kind of went over with everybody. And then the next is the Friendswood City Center Detention Pond. This detention pond is at 528 Blackhawk Boulevard within TERS 1. The driveway behind Brookside Intermediate is completed. And the excavation of pond two, actually, I got an update on TERS 1 email, and that detention pond 2 is complete. And there's also infrastructure going in for Bennett Boulevard and some other Blackhawk over on Larrabee, all these new roads that are coming off Blackhawk Boulevard. That's all the stormwater sewer and sanitary sewer infrastructure that's going on over in TERS 1 City Center. And this is the Whitcomb Terracing Stormwater Detention Basin. I know you all come to our Galveston County Consolidated Drainage District meetings, so I really appreciate that. It's good seeing you all out there. So you all probably have heard that. A lot of people out here may not have. And this is adjacent to the Friendswood City Center, and the Harris County Commissioners Court's approval was expected in May 2025. I think that has been approved. Mitigation for this project is provided by Friendswood City Center detention ponds. Those were mentioned in detention pond 2 and detention pond 1. The preliminary engineering will evaluate terracing of the property and any further mitigation measures that might be necessary to prevent downstream impact. There might be some additional things that we have to do as far as detention to actually do the Whitcomb terracing because it's quite extensive. Harris County Flood Control District will schedule a public engagement meeting with the public in coming months. The target completion date is March 2027. You all remember that we got $10 million from Dr. Bonin. And this is about a $17 million project. I think that we're looking at, or maybe $27 million. I can't remember now right off the top of my head. I've slept since then. But that's going to be Whitcomb terracing, and that's going to do quite a bit of what we've been wanting to do in our area as far as conveying water. This is the comprehensive master drainage plan. This is going to be a more comprehensive study of urban and riverine flood mitigation and identifying, prioritizing projects that provide benefits in Friendswood. And like Rusty had mentioned earlier, y'all got the IDRT study that's going on with y'all's master drainage plan. This all will be shared with you all. And from what Michael Baker's representative said, he can take all of this data and all this information and commingle it or inculcate it into a really pretty legible database that maybe everybody could be helped on that. This project, if you will recall, was initially going to be partnered with Galveston County Consolidated Drainage District and the city, about $400,000 each. And then what had happened is we ran into some problems with getting the federal grant funding for this.
And that complicated the money y'all sharing with us. So we gave back 400,000 so y'all could use that in y'all study. And then we got this. This is just under $800,000 study. And I was pretty surprised to hear Mac Baker's representative, 260 in 6 months. That was pretty impressive numbers that he was throwing out. But yeah, that was the report. That was the last update at our city council meeting. Any questions?
You know, we're moving forward with Clearview. That's our interlocals got signs working with Clearview. And I anticipate with the stuff from Deepwood, I know Jim and I've talked about this, about moving forward with some Deepwood stuff here with the board when we can get some answers on what's going on. But Clearview and Scott, you might be able to expand on that. Where do we stand exactly in the Clearview? Has all the survey work?
Yeah, we're about to button up the survey. The geotech report is in the works. They finished the drilling out there. And 5E is working on compiling the model and breaking it up to that portion that we're going to have to analyze for the project. So we're working on conceptual layouts, a couple of options. Then they'll run that through there, and then we'll pick one and we'll move on with the design.
How long did 5E say they need to get us their part back?
I have to look, Rusty. I don't have that in front of me. It's in the can. So I think it's going to be at least another 2 or 3 months.
So we're here tonight. We'd ask them.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, and if I may, I'd just like to take a brief moment and congratulate Michael Ross. Congratulations, Michael Ross, on your election to the City Council Position 6. I enjoyed our breakfast the other day. Michael Sharp is a very sharp cookie, and I look forward to working with him over the next 3 years. So thank y'all. Appreciate
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gives us 2 people really engaged and trained for this, and I love that. So yes, thank you.
And I always take your call. And your text message.
That says a lot then.
Yeah.
Well, he had World Southwest Conference pose. He has to, you know. Number 13, City of Lee City report. My man Matt in the back corner.
Get up here to the
To
podium.
the lecture.
You have no list back there, so you can leave.
Yeah.
Did she trip you?
She liked it down.
Good partner back there. Just to give you guys an update on development in League City, Westland Ranch, that development is kind of pump the brakes, so to speak. They are working on Section 5, which is ongoing right now. I'd say they've got good portion of their paving done. So that'll be the next section you see come online. But in comparison to some other developments I'm dealing with in League City, they moving a lot slower. So Section 5 is moving forward for them. Legacy, I like to keep you guys updated on that master plan community there. They're blowing and going. I tell you, they've got upwards of about 12 projects going on right now. When you talk about sections, residential sections, roadways, off-site utilities, drainage, as was on the agenda today, you saw Legacy sections 1, 2, and Legacy Boulevard there. Those will be their first sections where you start seeing vertical construction. I tell you, section 4 is probably the next section you'll see come online, but they've got in total sections 1 through 8 all in construction right now. Couple roadways, some off-site utilities, some off-site drainage. So they're moving forward aggressively. Otherwise, I think that those are the 2 main developments I'd like to keep you guys apprised of. But I'm here for any questions or concerns you got.
What's the latest on plats? If you've got any news for us, we learned that Molden Parkway, the plat for us was skipped. And so we've been trying to contact Lake City back and forth on that communication. Got any updates for us on that?
I've been copied on all those emails going back and forth. I would tell you the guidance that has been given to me is, it confirms that we understand and recognize and appreciate this board's
role in ensuring we got safe and quality development and proper floodplain mitigation. Regarding your involvement in the plats, though, I tell you, any inquiries about that probably needs to go through official channels above me, because platting is a little bit outside of my wheelhouse. So if I do, get any information regarding that, I'll always keep you guys apprised.
Would that be one of the Chris's?
So yeah, one of them, I tell you, Chris Carpenter is the director of planning, where platting is his, in his purview. And then, Christopher Sims is the executive director of development services. So he's got some saying things as well.
At the end of last meeting, I remember there was some homeowners that were going to speak with you about the impact of some of the development on their home near Legacy.
Correct.
Were you able to, is there an update on that?
So I did take some time with them and kind of explain the process and the drainage design that was somewhat concerning to them. I believe they submitted what was called a public information request to the city to receive those formal drainage plans. And I told them to reach out to me if they've got any particular questions once they've had time to digest that. Unless I missed it, I don't think I've heard anything since then.
The other was just roads update on your east-west collectors and your timelines on those roads still.
Legacy did their portion of League City Parkway to expand those lanes. Magnolia Bayou Drive is connected now to 517. What else do we have? Muldoon Parkway is going to continue its extensions as we get more and more development going on the west side. So what else do we have?
Well, cemetery and all that, everything's still on track for.
Yeah, nothing has changed. I tell you, I think I saw where Galveston County's bond stuff, eventually Bay Area Boulevard is going to connect to 517. We looks like we'll be awarded some funds on that. So. Anything else?
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank y'all for having me.
Sir. Executive session, the board of directors will conduct a closed meeting in order to seek the advice of its attorney about pending or contemplated litigation, settlement offers, or any matter in which duty of the district under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Contract with the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with the Texas Obedience Act per Texas Government Code 551.071 for legal issues concerning any item listed on today's posted agenda. Texas Government Code 552-072, deliberations about the purchase, exchange, release, lease, or value of real property. Discussion regarding attorney services for collection of delinquent taxes. We will reconvene an open session after executive.
And the time is 8:19.
See you all in 7 minutes.